Today, we are going to talk about the poem by Jalaluddin Rumi. The title of the poem is Love, an Essence of All Religions. When we talk about the word essence, it strikes our mind. Essence is basically the gist which is taken out from something bigger. In his poem, Jalaluddin Rumi is talking about the real teaching of all the religions, that is love, universal love or love for our Creator and our fellow beings. This poem, as I've told you, was written by Jalaluddin Rumi and it is translated by Dr. Nicholson. Rumi, as we know, is a great Persian poet and he is famous for his moral poems. He is well known as a great Sufi and a mystic. Whereas the translator, Dr. Nicholson, he was born in 1868 and he died in 1945. He was an eminent English scholar of both Islamic literature and Islamic mysticism, and he is considered as one of the greatest scholars who have worked on Rumi and translated his work in English language. In this poem, poet is talking about the most beautiful feeling of the world, that is love, which is the greatest blessing of Allah. It is the essence of all the religions. It is love which changes the difficulties and the adversities of this life into pleasures. It can change the nature of things very easily. Thorns, they become flowers or they become roses. Vinegar, it changes into sweet wine. A burning fire, it becomes a pleasing sight. Sickness becomes health, and kings, they become slaves. They leave their thrones just for the sake of love. Life becomes a success and a pleasure just because of love. Otherwise, the difficulties in this life does not make it worth living. Rumi is stressing on the importance of love in all the matters of life. He calls it an essence of all the religions. As a mystic, he believes in the strong influence and power of love on all the human beings and on all the believers. He has a strong faith and he thinks that love works as magic. He thinks that no war can be won without the force of love. If we use violence, we are definitely going to lose. He explores the various aspects of love and he is highlighting the advantages. Love, it is a light which brightens the dark alley of this life, and it spreads its warm and tender feelings, and it does away with all the hatred. It is a spontaneous expression and it craves through joy, through beauty, through truth, even through tears. It is like a moment which is neither lost in yesterdays, nor does it craves for tomorrow. It lives in the present, at the moment. The reason of war, hate, suffering, is basically because of the differences in our beliefs, in our religions. But if all the religions give vent to love, this world will become a more livable and a safer place for the coming generations. The justice that is derived from the teachings of all the religions is only love. It is the essence of all the teachings of mystics, religious leaders, prophets. It is a miraculous force. Our life, we cannot call it complete if it is lacking in love. Those who know how to practice love, they are the actual human beings. They cannot cause harm to others. They sacrifice their personal desires for the sake of collective good. The feelings of love come when one is a good servant to the will of the Creator. He knows that God is the most love. It is love incarnated in Allah. Love becomes magic when it is in the perfect harmony with the Creator. If we study various religions and if we do a kind of a comparative study of different religions, we come to know that there is no preaching of hatred or violence in any religion, be it God-sent, be it man-made. There is no preaching of violence or hatred. They communicate that one must be God-fearing, loving, honest and pious. To love and to be loved is the greatest happiness of existence. Love makes this life worth living. If it is absent from our words and from our deeds, this earth, it will not be a place to live then. It will be as bad as hell. It is to the submission of Allah that teaches man what is love and that how it should be practiced. Now we will look at the explanation of the first 4 lines of the poem, Love, an Essence of All Religions. Thorns, they are sharp-pointed growth on the stems of plants. Vinegar is an acid liquor. And stake, it is a post to which a person is tied. And misfortune is bad luck. Now the poet tells us that it is only love, which is an essence of all religions in the world. It can alter the lives of people and bring a pleasant change. To explain this idea, he gives us few examples. Love acts as an agent that transforms thorns or difficulties of our life into roses or into the most beautiful things. As love prepares us to face the adversities with patience and courage. When a person, he tastes the sweetness of love, the sour vinegar, it tastes like sweet wine. If we get someone's love, bitter realities of life, they change into pleasures. Love, it is a sublime feeling that makes a deathbed a throne. The man whose heart is filled with love, there is no room for any worldly desires. It can change the pains into pleasures through its miraculous and magical effect. Sometimes the life of a person changes so much that his bad luck, it changes into good luck. Through love, a person on the gallows who is to be hanged soon can become the king. The heart that bears love cannot bear ill will against anyone. It is only through this virtue of love that our Creator, God Almighty, changes misfortune into the most fortunate events of our lives. Love, it works as a defense. It is a kind of a bodyguard for the human beings. It can alter the lives of the people and it brings drastic and pleasant changes in the lives of people. Rumi reflects that love is a great force in human life which brings radical changes. Although life is a bed of thorns, it is full of difficulties, but it becomes a bed of roses with sweet fragrance and warm smiles of love. We will look at the next 4 lines of the poem, Love, an Essence of All Religions. Pleasing is something pleasant, grief is sorrow, and harmless is causing no harm or creating any problem. In this stanza, or in these lines, the poet is highlighting the importance of love in a man's life. He calls, as he has said earlier, that it is the essence of all religions. In his opinion, every problem can be solved through the mysterious and mystic powers of love. Love changes the burning fire, which is actually sometimes very harmful. It changes into a pleasing light, and it does not seem to harm a lover. It can soften the burning effects of fire. It is the greatest virtue of tolerance, forbearance, and patience, even in the moments of grief. Through love, one can keep one's spirits high and motivated. It is through the power of love that fierce lions, they are tamed and they become harmless as a kitten. It can suppress the fury of that fierce lion and tame it. Rumi is highlighting the soothing and healing power of love. It consoles the poor, grieved people and make life worth living and enjoyable for them. It reforms the cruel men to be humble and become distinguished citizens. Rumi illustrates that love is the force which molds the detestable, hateful passions into everlasting, good, warm feelings. Through love, a stone-hearted and a stubborn person, he changes into someone who is gentle, who is humble, and who is modest. And as a mystic, he believes in the secret power of love. He thinks that no war can be won by force and violence, and no religion permits the use of hatred and cruelty against your enemies. Now we are going to look at lines 9 to 12 of the poem Love, an Essence of All Religions. Wrath is great anger, mercy is pity, slave, someone, a servant who is in the someone else's power. Now over here, the poet is again talking in the same line about the great feeling of love. The poet says that if one has faith in the ways of God, then through this love, every calamity, every difficulty, it can be surmounted and tackled. It is this love that extracts health out of sickness. The sick people become healthy when they are treated with love and care. It is love which helps a man to get rid of physical and spiritual weaknesses and sicknesses. It brings a deprived and dejected person back to normal life. Love is the name of liveliness. One is alive as long as one's heart is alive. In frustration and in disappointment, the heart loses hope of life. But it is through the power of love that a heart which is dead becomes alive again. Love ends hatred and wrath and transforms it into mercy. We do not show anger to the people whom we love. Love is the antithesis of anger and hatred and wrath. So, where there is love, there is no hatred, there are no differences, there is no anger. When God lights the candle of His love in the heart of a king, his whole vision changes, and instead of becoming the ruler or the king of the people, he becomes their slave. Not only the slave of the people, but actually the slave of the Creator, and in a way he is able to look after the creations of Allah. The poet has shown the force of love and its positive effects on human life. It is only through love that we can make impossible things possible. Love, it takes away or it drives away all the human worries. As it is said by Sophocles, one word, it frees us from the weight and pain of life. That word is love. Love has a civilizing effect on people, which can make a proud and cruel and obstinate king as humble and as harmless as a slave. It is the great force in our private and in our public life. It draws the map of human emotions through affection and kindness. It is like a feeling which comes from the heart and extends like from the heart as blood is flowing into the body. Similarly, love flows into every vein and artery of a human body. The best deed of man, according to Hazrat Ali Raziallahu Ta'ala Anhu, is to forgive and forget. Love, it is like a lamp which needs to be fed out of oil of another's heart, otherwise its flame burns low.